WarsawJS.
Once again, my name is Sergey, working for the project Thread, and I'm here to talk a little bit about an AI. Wow, fancy PowerPoint effects, I love this. Alrighty, so artificial intelligence and machine learning in general might be as a pretty much daunting subject. You might heard something as generative adversary, artificial intelligence, a neural network for recurrent or so-called RNNs things, and nobody actually have clue what they do about. And I'm here basically to explain what those and show you a few of the case studies. This is not a workshop, it's not a tutorial. You can Google the shit out of it and find how to implement anything on a front end within like 30 seconds. So why actually bother? So basically, preparing for this lecture, I visited a pretty great place, which is called City of Lords. And there I actually was on a Promised Land festival. And there were, if you never heard about it, it's actually a festival for an artistic people who was gifted talent by God, not like myself. And everybody there was ranting about the AI, how they actually afraid of these taking their jobs, because nowadays you need only to put some like sort of a prompt into Stable Diffusion or any familiar network, and you're getting the image, which basically makes an artistic person redundant. And then the really great guy and apparently friend of mine, Enric, came to the stage, and he's a sculptor, and he's working for 12 years in a row for Blizzard and doing cool stuff for World of Warcraft. And he told that it's just a tool. Why are you people all afraid of it? And it's actually inspired me to share this simple quote. It's just another tool. And I thought, yeah, that's a great thing to share basically with the front-end community, because what community is better incorporate new, another tool, so-called, where the common misconceptions that if you blink in a glimpse of a second, another framework developed. So basically, keeping that in mind, I'd love to share with you another quote that basically some long before, at the very beginning of my journey, inspired me to learning AI. That technology is affect everything, every part of society, kingdom, or empire. It is based on what's available to humanity at this point. End of quote, repeat the line. Basically, what I'm trying to say by this is that AI is already there. It's easy to use. It's easy to basically incorporate into any given technology that you do have right now, whether it's your pet project, whether it's something production, go there, pitch it to your product owner or whoever makes this decision. So if it's there, why don't we try to use it? And I have to say that I didn't have this mindset when I only joined CDPR a few years ago, and I wouldn't like to take the whole credit for this presentation my own, because I work with shit tons of brilliant people who basically inspire me, as I already shared with you for this talk. And keeping that in mind, this year we on a hiring spree, so if something catches your eye or glimpse of interesting information in this talk, please do not hesitate to contact whoever you see on LinkedIn with CDPR as their working place, or just visit the website. That's how it works in the front end, I heard. So, long story short, I would like to keep this talk in two parts, so to say. In the first part, I would like to share with you what would be the actual difference in between of AI and traditional software development and whatnot, because there is not much difference, actually, in my humble opinion, especially when you think of it from a front-end perspective. So, with traditional software, you having a handcrafted decision logic, and everything is always rules-based. Any code looks something like this. You've got some condition, some criterion to compare it with, and you do something, or elsewhere you do something else. It's pretty clear, and it's obvious how to actually implement it. But imagine if you let's go down this path. Imagine if you're CTO of some sort of photo streaming sharing platform, and you basically about to forbid any explicit content, which might be a hard thing to do, because you will have to have a lot of rules for that. And it's easier to do even with the traditional software. It's easy to determine forbidden content comparing to other images. But what I'm actually like you to think about it, the Pornhub community. It's actually top of the shelf engineering community into AI image recognition service. Because think of an Instagram. It's obviously that you cannot post dick pic something or something like that. But what about the Pornhub, where explicit content is actually allowed and only one single glimpse of this content is forbidden? How to actually train neural network or even traditional software to determine this sort of really explicit content. And basically that's when you incorporate AI. And whenever you use AI, your software is going to look something like this. It's still a traditional software, but instead of comparing everything to some criteria, you do have a method of some sort that actually checks whether your image contains explicit content or it does not. It's all fun and stuff, but obviously the tricky part is how to implement this contains explicit image, especially on a front end, what it has to do with the front end, and how do I do it within like given powers with JavaScript, Angular, or React, or anything else. And with that, I would like you to share with you my first example. When enters AI, basically, especially to the front end, you use it with help, which is called API, because obviously every single AI compares images to given data set, and there is no just room for that to store everything on the front end. So basically everything comes to an API and usage of such. And that is not automation, that's called augmentation. You take part of the process that basically would take hours, dozens of hours, or maybe hundreds of hours for any software developer to actually incorporate all this logic, because it's quite obvious if dig, please do forbid this image. But it's might getting harder and harder with all the tricks and whatnot you do have on the internet. So let me share with you my first example, and so we slowly transition to front-end AI applications, the actual usage of those into front-end. And this exact task that we just had as an example can easily be downed to the Google Vision API. That's basically a tool that might surprise you already doing this. It has a lot of pre-trained models, it's using photo label generation, and it's seamlessly updated. To be precise, it's so seamlessly updated because yesterday, in order to check everything in order with my slides, I actually found out that you no longer have to validate the text that image give you. The Google Vision API only recently got an update for check whether image explicit or not. And it's easier to incorporate it, and you see the GIF of an example where you check reCAPTCHA and do some stuff, because of course we wouldn't like robots to use robots, people. So let me share with you a few examples from the CDPR where we actually do use the artificial intelligence on the front end. One thing would be for label text. You see here the screenshot of so-called application web launcher. That would be things that you see in before of launching Cyberpunk, if you ever played in it, whether you launch it from Steam, Epic, or any other gifted shop. So basically, recently, the Cyberpunk got update, and inside of this red launcher thingy, you see the news. It might be straightforward, like, of course, you got an API for news and you show the list. But the thing is that Red Launcher and the whole Cyberpunk uses is actually support of a text. Whenever you have a sort of inability of seeing coherent things, there is text-to-speech support of an element in the whole game, and the text system to actually navigate through the whole application from zero to hero. And it's quite an easier, you might think. You actually take a news, and at the phase where the news prepared by marketing content team or anything else, you just add a few texts and here you go. But it doesn't work like this, unfortunately, only because let's count with me and do some sort of a simple math. What you actually do have here, it's launcher simultaneously store 22 to 20 news per one game. There is 18 languages in the game itself, so basically there is 18 languages in Red Launcher. If you've got this multiplied, it's more than 1,500 actual news, and moreover, you multiply it by 12 only because every 12 hours you've got news updated, and it's more than 90,000 elements of units updated per day. There is no actual human capacity to provide tag for every single news of this. And what we actually come down to, we started using at first the Google Vision API, but we had to ditch it because of legal stuff and whatnot, and we implemented it through the Angular and TensorFlow technology. It's basically pretty much the same thing what Google API does, but it learns on our pre-trained data. We don't need so much data like Google Vision API does because news are pretty predefined. And yes, as a front-end community, as a member of front-end community, I'm proud of it because there is actual Angular and JavaScript inside of Cyberpunk. Another great example would be the Red Launcher background. And I have to warn you, because I'm pulling the fast one here on you, this technology no longer in use, because with like going on update of the game, the cool, beautiful background that changes rapidly was ditched completely on the front-end side, but it was there for a time being. Basically, whenever you progress through the game and you save data proceed through the whole game, we were changing the background of the actual application. And it's quite easy. You're getting through the C++ the data from the saved data, and then you have male V on the background. If you've got a female V, you're changing it to female. If you progress to the end of story, you've got sort of a trailer. If you're actually playing endgame content, you've got completely updated background. It's quite simple and easy, but please do keep in mind that Cyberpunk is a top-notch game, and it actually should be playable on 16K or whatnot monitors. And imagine this, you having these four examples of a background. One of them is a trailer. Again, 18 languages is there. You just cannot physically download those 4K images and put them inside of the launcher. So what actually to do here? Download them while user progress through the game, but there is such thing as a bandwidth. Basically, you might be limited by the fact that Cyberpunk actually allows user to play offline. What would you do if there is no internet connection or internet connection keeps interrupting? And so we did introduce TensorFlow again, because I'm working on daily basis with the front end, I'm working on daily basis with AI. Why don't incorporate one into another? And what we actually did, we start seamlessly download those backgrounds based on the speed with which user plays, again analysis of the saved data, and based on the fact that user actually keep having disappearing internet connection, which is basically, in my understanding, the really grand solution. If you didn't guess by now, I actually cannot share with you any single code or anything that was done within the game for obvious reasons, marketing, PR, but what I can share you with, it's basically examples of those tools within different pet projects of mine that I did some time. If you really wish to share those knowledge like TensorFlow, maybe this would be a Brain.js, maybe that would be the Google API Vision, please behold my stuff. I do this on a daily basis. I'm looking for new AI technologies and actually incorporate them into the web stuff. So if you're eager to, please do check it out. So keeping this in mind, I do have one thing to share instead of conclusion. It's quite an obvious. If you can do an API, you can do AI even right now. Go teach it, because technology is not standing. Actual shift is vilifying here on daily basis. And if you have an even small investment of a time, of your own working time for which you're getting paid, I suppose, into the artificial intelligence on the front ends, so I shit you not, that might be actual use case for you in future to come. Thank you, much obliged. I so much obliged.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.